Alec Baldwin has written a very, very long piece in New York Magazine, basically setting the record straight when it comes to a number of things that he's been accused of. The whole gist of his piece is to argue that he is not a homophobe. Remember, he had a number of run-ins with paparazzi. There was one writer in the Daily Mail who accused him of being homophobic after he claimed that his wife was texting at Gandolfini's funeral, and then Alec Baldwin responded by calling him a queen, and people thought that was homophobic. And then later, he had a run-in with paparazzi that was chasing after his wife and him. And here's his response. It's a TMZ video. Listen very closely to what he says to him.
Get away from my kid with the camera. You know what's going to happen to you, don't you? Come on! Fuck, girl.
So that was pretty bad. So understandably, people were calling him a homophobe for that, although I don't think that people use that word because they're homophobic. I think it's always just kind of been an insult without really understanding what the word means, to be completely honest with you guys. Anyway, just to give you an example of some of the stuff that he wrote in his piece, he says, I'm trying to understand what happened, how an altercation on the street in which I was accused wrongly of using a gay slur could have cascaded like this. That's been the shift in my life, and it's caused me to step back and say, this is happening for a reason. Am I a homophobe? Look, I work in show business. I am awash in gay people as colleagues and as friends. I'm doing Rock of Ages one day, making out with Russell Brand. Soon after that, I'm advocating with Jesse Tyler Ferguson and Cynthia Nixon for marriage equality. I'm officiating at gay friends' weddings. I'm not a homophobic person at all, but this is how the world sees me now.
Okay, so agree and disagree in parts. So first of all, he claimed that he did not say faggot cocksucker. He said fathead cocksucker. No one in the world believes that. Okay, so just keep it real. Here's what he should have said. Look, it slipped out in the middle of incredible heated passion. What a dumb thing it was to say. And it's because I grew up in a time when that was a common insult that people used, just like Anna was mentioning. But it was unacceptable. I shouldn't have said it. I feel so bad about it because look at all the work that I've done, my body of work in my life, right? I'm not going to make out with Russell Brand. I'm not going to go help Cynthia Nixon on gay rights cause. I'm not going to officiate at a gay wedding if I'm a homophobe. That would have been the perfectly right way to handle it if you ask me. I don't think he should have said awash in gay people either, right?
Yeah, that's a weird
Alec
phrase.
doesn't always necessarily say this right things. But after reading this lengthy piece, do I think that he's coming at it from a malicious point of view? I don't. And so it's hard not to empathize with him because he lives under a microscope. And he made some eloquent points about how now everything we do, he said, echoes in a digital canyon for eternity.
And
so
it's
you
true.
don't get judged by all of your good points. And look, there are parts of that you read that and you go, I wouldn't have said it that way. And he admittedly says, I'm bitter, man. I was like, I'm going to keep it real with you. I'm done with the media and I'm going to get out of the spotlight after I make my case here. Yes, I'm definitely bitter, okay? But he says, look, all the good things that I did, they don't count for anything, right? Because nobody ever talks about the good things. Just a couple of moments of inappropriate things, and that's it. That's all anybody ever talks about, and that's how you get characterized. And he's right about that. He's right that that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And look, in the piece he talks about all the charities that he's given to. I would have brought it down a little bit. He talks about how he gave away his 30 Rock, his entire salary to charity, and now all of his things have been canceled because of the gay slurs. Capital One, what people call gay slurs, and what I think actually are gay slurs, Capital One's canceled. His podcast that he loved, that he modeled the MSNBC show after on WNYC, a radio station, gone, canceled. Other ads canceled. By the way, he's also sounded to me, I'm just interpreting here, but like he was a little bitter because he can't even make any money anymore going forward with those things, at least.
Right.
He's still an actor, so everything is gone based on, like, Queen, I guess that's bad, but the words are changing all the time. Like, if you had said to me, is Queen definitely an insult towards gay people? I'm not sure I would have known the answer to that a week ago, right?
Yeah, words are, or the meaning and the feeling behind words are changing all the time. For instance, when you call someone a bitch, right? You're not implying, you're not trying to be a misogynist. Like it's just a word that's used. So if he had used that word toward another guy, I wouldn't look at him and be like, oh my God, look at how misogynistic he is, right? Because the connotation behind that word has changed significantly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in the case of the F word, or faggot in this case, right? I mean, it changed from just a generic insult to now being something very specific to the gay community.
And by the way, so understand, of course that it started against gays, right? But it became a general insult,
Yes.
right? And it doesn't excuse it. And they're right to say enough with that word. It's a hideous word. You're right about that. And I think the fundamental error he did is just trying to pretend he didn't say it when it seems like on tape he clearly did say it, okay?
Yeah.
But then is he a terrible demonic person, and should his show be canceled and everything he's ever done been canceled because of a couple of missteps? I don't know. I don't know if that's too high a standard for anybody. And look, yes, context matters. If Rush Limbaugh says it, his context is he has a history of saying it and meaning it, right? Whereas Alec Baldwin has a history of helping gay rights. And then to turn around and say all that is wiped out in 1 second when you were super angry that somebody was coming after your wife and you said something inappropriate. I don't know that that's fair.
As you guys all know, he got fired after the so-called homophobic slurs. So he went crazy in his piece in attacking MSNBC hosts. So I want to read you a little bit of that. He said, I watched MSNBC prior to working there very sporadically. Once I had signed a contract with them, I wanted to see more of what they were about. It turned out to be the same shit all day long. The only difference was who was actually pulling off whatever act they had come up with. So now he gets really specific. Morning Joe was boring. Scarborough is neither eloquent nor funny.
Okay.
Mika B is the Margaret Dumont of cable news.
Okay, so far no one's surprised by that. They're conservatives, right? And Alec Baldwin is a progressive.
Yeah.
And it's about to get worse.
Oh yeah. I like Lawrence O'Donnell, but he's too smart to be doing that show. Rachel Maddow is Rachel Maddow, the ultimate wonk dweeb who got a show, polished it, made it her own. She's talented. The problem with everybody on MSNBC is none of them are funny, although that doesn't prevent them from trying to be. And then he starts talking about Phil Griffin. Phil is a veteran programmer who knows well the corridors and chambers of television programming and couldn't give a flying fuck about content. All he wanted to talk about was Giants tickets, Super Bowl tickets, restaurants, movies, the conversations about the set, about the physical production of the show, cameras, lighting. It seemed like he wanted to get those over with as quickly as possible. He didn't care. He had 4 monitors on the wall. They were all on, muted. He never listened to them. He never watched them.
So I agree with about at least 80% of that, okay? So whatever other disagreements we might have, I back him up on the Phil Griffin thing completely.
Did you guys talk about Giants tickets?
Yeah, definitely.
You did?
I mean, not specifically Giants tickets, I don't remember that, but we talked about sports all the time.
Oh, I see.
The 80%, I only say 80% because look, I don't mind talking about sports, and the conversations that I had with Phil and anybody else where we're just generally talking about life, I don't see any harm in that. And Phil would every once in a while say wait and turn up the volume if there was something going on in the screens. So I think he's being a little unfair to him on that stuff, right? And by the way, they're all muted in all the offices at MSNBC, Fox, CNN, etc. Now, but as to Phil Griffin not giving a damn about content, he's 1,000,000% right. And Phil Griffin, to his credit, kind of admits it. In his most recent interview he did, he said they flat out asked him, if you could make more money, like $1 billion or whatever, doing a conservative programming, would you? And he said, I'm not answering that, but you know what the answer is, which is absolutely. Phil Griffin isn't a progressive. He happens to be running this network for a profit, right? So of course he doesn't care about the content.
So let me read you the rest of this because I thought that you would appreciate the next statement he said. Once they fired me, a former MSNBC employee I knew emailed me. He said, you watch now, Phil is going to start leaking left and right to bury you.
That's 1,000,000% right as well. And by the way, what the sickening part of that is not Phil doing that. He does it because that's what he's good at, corporate wheeling and dealing, right?
Yep.
And that's what he's been taught. And you say, okay, now if you've got somebody who might do you damage, you got to justify that firing. So leak a lot of bad information about him. Like, for example, look, let's just keep it real here for a second. When I was having my departure with MSNBC, they started leaking numbers of my ratings in March. Now, at that point, it was July. Why? Because my June numbers were awesome, my May numbers were awesome, my April numbers were pretty good, so he had to go all the way back to March to find bad numbers so that he could leak it. Did he do that? Absolutely.
And keep in mind, the reason why your March numbers weren't stellar was because you started taking their advice when they told you to be more senatorial, when they told you to tone it down.
And look, to be fair to MSNBC overall, it was also momentous Egyptian revolution, Fukushima, all these different things happened in January, February, March, and all of MSNBC's numbers were down relative to CNN. But so he does do that. But what I was going to say is what's more deplorable are the journalists that play along. The journalists who go, oh, I know Phil's leaking this to me to put a hatchet in Alec Baldwin's back, and I know that it's not necessarily true. I know he's doing it for a political and bureaucratic reason.
I'm going to publish it anyway.
I'm going to publish it anyway because I got a leak.
Yep.
Ooh, I'm going to get to run a hot story.
Okay, final part of this, and it's the final jab at Rachel Maddow. Another source told me, you know who's going to get you fired, don't you? Rachel. Phil will do whatever Rachel tells him to do. I think Rachel Maddow is quite good at what she does. I also think she's a phony who doesn't have the same passion for truth off camera as she seems to have on the air. Damn.
That was by far the most damaging part of the article, I thought, because people know what Phil Griffin's about. If they don't, they're not paying attention, right? As far as Rachel goes, look, she's been perfectly pleasant to me. I worked with her at Air America. I worked with her at MSNBC. If she's doing Machiavellian stuff behind the scenes, I don't know it, right? So apparently that's what Alec thinks. Now, the reason he thinks that is because he's convinced himself that she's part of what he called the gay Department of Justice, you know, which is another thing. If you're trying to claim you're not homophobic, don't call it the gay Department of Justice. So he makes errors here. There's no question about that, right? He thinks Anderson Cooper and Rachel Maddow, et cetera, conspired to get him off the air because they think he's homophobic. Is that true? I have no frickin' idea. I don't believe that there's a gay Department of Justice, right? And what does Rachel do behind the scenes? He doesn't have any evidence of that, is my point.
Yeah.
If I was him, I'd have stuck with Phil Griffin. But as he says, and he's not afraid to say, he's bitter, right? And he's like, I'm going to go out in a blaze of glory here.